I thought it would be funny if there was a guy who was like, his job was to facilitate threesomes, and he's like, I can do it. I can do it. You know, I was like, how are you going to convince my wife to do this? Don't worry about it. I got this. You know what I mean? Like the threesome consigliere. Oh, man. It could be Jesse's job, though.
For $14.95 a month.
Right? It'd be expensive, though, but you'd pay it.
But you pay.
Hey, I'm Armando Leduc, producer, film actor, and owner of Leduc Entertainment. I've chosen a life off the beaten path and wanted to find others that are doing the same. Spaghetti on the Wall is a show based on all of the years that I've thrown spaghetti on the wall and nurtured what stuck. We will share fun stories, ideas, tips, tricks, and more. Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of Spaghetti on the Wall, ladies and gentlemen, here in San Antonio. Or San Antonio? Do people do San Antonio?
Not really.
No, they don't.
No,
it's like
SA.
when people are like New Orleans, Nowland. Nobody does that.
No.
Nobody says that shit.
No.
Right, Jesse?
Yeah.
San Antonio, though, nobody says it.
Nope. I mean,
Not one person?
There might be like one or two that have said it before, but no.
Was the outsiders?
The outsiders, yeah. The
SA?
ones that just got here.
You say SA?
SA a lot more, yeah.
And they might say SA.
SA. San Antonio. All right.
San Antonio.
Are y'all Spurs fans?
I would say I'm a former Spurs fan. I still like them. I'll still go. I don't hate the Spurs, but I just miss the Spurs, like Timmy and like when all the real players were playing.
Right. That's like when Drew Brees left the Saints. It's like not the same.
yeah.
But
Not the
yeah, I
same.
feel you.
I mean, I still love them, but not as much.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I feel you on that. Matt Cavanaugh, ladies and gentlemen, a mortgage lender with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, a.k.a. the Cav Crew. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Cap crew in the house.
So I've had a mortgage lender on my show before, Colina Zimmett over there in New Orleans. Shout out. Talk to me about this market right now, bruh.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I've been in this since 2008. And so seeing some strange things, right? So 2008 was the worst time to get in, or
And
at
you
least
got in.
That's what we used to say.
Right.
Now I have to say it's the second worst time to ever get into the business, but it coming right off all the crashes and craziness and what's happening in the world. And there were like credits coming in and all kinds of things in mortgages, but I just didn't know any different. Right. So they would say I turned over more rocks than anybody else because everybody else was looking at this like downturn and how terrible it is. I just didn't know the difference. And so coming into what we've had over the last 5 years or so, everything's fire. Everything's just going so crazy and really good money, like all the things happening. Like you can't get a house to stay on the market very long. And then so it's almost like unrealistic expectations of the market to be doing what it was doing. And so now we're seeing this, I would call it a downturn, slow down, whatever you want. But really, it's just what we were doing before, right? So it's like a house on the market for 45 days. Was not scary 3 years ago, right? In fact, I would say very normal. And giving seller concessions, right? Very normal. Having 30, 45 days for closing, very normal. But since we're used to, even at the beginning of this year, 3% interest rates, and now you got 7, and 1 day on the market with 15 offers, and now you got 20 days on the market with 2 or 3 offers. It's not that crazy. It's just what you said, normal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Sorry for not introducing Jerry Salcedo over here.
Oh, come on now.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. Jerry is co-hosting the show with me today.
I understand it's easy though because Matt is a superstar, man.
He's the focal point. But I don't want to completely ignore Jerry over here. Jerry lives in New Braunfels.
Born and raised.
Cousin to my good friend Jesse Esquivel. Jesse E is in the house, and he runs a company called Hype Club.
Oh yeah.
And then he also is a DJ.
Yes, sir.
And if you need life
Jerry.
Insurance, how many jobs you got, man? Do you guys remember that from Living Color? It's like, how many jobs you got, man? Oh, I do this and this and this and this. You're lazy, man. It's like, I got 8 jobs and you're still lazy. And Jerry's here, so he's going to be co-hosting, and we're going to be asking questions and getting into, mortgage lending in that world. And you married guy?
I am
You
married,
family?
yes.
Family man? How long you been married?
Been married for 8 years, and we have 6 children altogether.
God.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. A busy time in life as they're going through that. My youngest now is in 1st grade. So, but, I've been a dad since I was 17.
Whoa.
So, been a dad longer than I have not.
Were you always planning on building an army or what?
No, I was going to be single dad, join the military, maybe, when I say single is because I was going to adopt 1 kid and have him and it was going to be a boy, travel around with me. Like I had it all planned out.
And now you got 6 kids.
Now I got 6 kids.
Modern day Brady Bunch, man.
Yeah,
Yep.
for real. Yeah. So I had 3, and then she had 2, and then we have 1 together, little Abraham. Yeah,
Amazing.
So, yeah. So,
Look at that. In 8 years, y'all been together.
yes, correct.
So y'all got past that 7-year itch.
I think so. I think so. Good. One of the cool things of talking about family is when you've been through enough and then you find the one, then all the little things don't matter anymore. Like
right.
She can't make me mad. I'm not sure if we can say bad words or whatever.
Yeah, you can. I mean, if you want to. I say shit.
Yeah, exactly. So like for real, like there's nothing she can do that makes me as upset as the things that I've been through. And so like from early on, like, look, whatever you need, you tell me what you need and I've got you, because I know I'm not going through what I've been through before and you would never put me through that anyway. So yeah.
That's awesome that you said that. I was reading a book called The Superior Male. Have you read this book?
Never even heard of it.
So I had an energy coach and an energy healer, and she was talking to me about this book. And basically the big thing I took away from this is that a woman is going to test you. That's just the way it is. They're just going to test you because they want to know that you're going to be the rock. Right? They're an ocean. They're just, they've got this energy. They're, then waves come through and they just want to make sure that you're legit and that you're going to hold up and that you're going to be able to weather the storm, which is one of the things that when I took that away, I felt like my part of like the tit for tat, like how we get into the tit for tat. We're like, well, but you did that, but you did that, and I stopped doing that, and I felt like that really started to change the relationship, and I wasn't so tit for tat. I'm just like, oh well, she's just being emotional right now, and I hope that's okay to say. Woman can get emotional.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So they get emotional, and you just kind of go through it. You know what I mean? And at the end of it, it's like, all right, well, whatever. It was just, she was just getting emotional and she was testing you, and that's good. So, the fact that you know that she can't affect you as much as like some of the other things that have affected you, and you're calm and cool, and that's probably what keeps that relationship pretty stable.
And to say it out loud, right? That's the big thing. Like we can do it in my head. I have the idea of she can ask me anything, but have I told her that? So very early on, it was any relationship that I have that she doesn't feel is appropriate, dude, that's her. Those relationships gone. Like anything you need me to not have in my life is gone. And then the other thing is, like, I remember she was taking a shower and I'm a dude, right? I'm watching TV. I have no idea what she's saying, but apparently she's yelling, "Can you give me a towel?" And I'm like, I don't hear, "Can you give me a towel?" So she, "Can you get me?" And she's like, "I can't believe." I'm like, no. I will fly to China to get you a cherry blossom off of whatever tree you pick. Like, you just tell me it's in the budget and I'm flying right now. So, and she's brought that up over the years. Like, wait, you said you would do anything for me at any time. So she's called me out, but I live like that. Like, let me live it out loud, not behind the scenes.
Right.
So, we both know where we stand. Any relationship, you call it, it's done. Anywhere you need me to be, I'll be there.
Hey, so I'm curious, Matt, because like you mentioned before, now that y'all are at this place of having gone through some life before, was that always the case? Is that one of those things that you experienced before that you knew now, both of y'all knew that hey, this level of open communication is absolutely key?
It's got to be. So she was in an abusive relationship marriage before, and my ex-spouse actually had a drug issue and ultimately passed away because of it. But in those situations, there was always like shadows. Like I lived in shadows, she lived in shadows, like everything was always hidden. And so once we got a chance to, and that we went through marriage counseling before we got married, right? We had a pastor speak with us. And one of the things was unload all the luggage, like bring it out of the closets up front early. And so it gave us a way to break through those normally hidden things about ourselves to like anything's on the table. And so since we did that before we got married, it's easy now that we are married.
So I know a guy in New Orleans, he's called the threesome consigliere. And so he helps, I'm just kidding.
That's interesting. Do you have
Jesse.
his number?
It's actually Jesse. Jesse is he's the threesome consigliere. Actually, I'm putting that in a show I'm writing called Life on Bourbon. But I thought it would be funny if there was a guy who was like, his job was to facilitate threesomes, and he's like, I can do it. I can do it. I was like, how are you going to convince my wife to do this? Don't worry about it. I got this. You know what I mean? Like the threesome consigliere. Oh man, it could be Jesse's job though.
For $14.95 a month,
right? It'd be expensive though, but you'd pay it.
But you pay. I think that's one of the ones Alicia would call. She'd be like, I don't want you to have that relationship.
Right?
Yeah.
So what, so Cavanaugh Crew,
Correct. Yes, sir.
and you guys give money to people that want to buy homes.
Yep.
You're the mortgage lender, and for people that have never bought a home before, how difficult is it to buy a home? What are the parameters? Are you you're going to need to have obviously 4% down?
Yeah, so 3.5% is about the lowest. You can do a conventional, do 3%, but there's some parameters to all that. But you can get gifts. There's bond programs. They kind of come and go with what you're allowed to get and not get. But ultimately, I always say it comes down to really capacity to repay. So as I start each conversation, it never goes the same. Like some people put what it takes to qualify on the back of a business card. I really want to know, like, who are they? What are their goals? What are they heading towards? Because everybody, and to me, everybody deserves a house, and maybe decisions they've made in the past might help, like, hurt them from or help them to get into the house faster or slower. So the whole thing is just having the right conversations. Where do you work? How long have you been there? What kind of industry in general are you in? Did you go to school for it? Things like that. How much money are you currently making? How much money do you have? How much money is in your 401k? How much money do your parents have? All those kind of things, co-signers along those lines, and then really just putting them into the right loan. So a lot of times what we'll see is they'll do like a 1-800-lender kind of person, and it's fill out this information, you get a green checkbox, and so they're like, hey, I'm approved for a $400,000 house. Cool, what's your payment? Oh, I don't know. Well, shouldn't the first thing maybe be what's your payment, and then how much money do you have, not just do you qualify for? So really, I would say that's the thing that we try to do, is make sure that the answer is not just yes right now, but it's yes all the way through. You get the keys. So what do we do different is we close the loans we say we can do. We're honest when we can't do them, so we don't have people chasing their tails forever. But if we say we can do it, we're actually going to close the loan. And how they go through that process, it depends on what their goals are.
Do you get paid commission?
It's like commission. The way that it works is my company actually pays me based off the loan production, but it's not something like you see on a contract for, let's say you're selling your house or you're buying a house and you see that 3% commission like a real estate agent. It's my company pays me to build big relationships with realtors and financial advisors, things like that, who send us clients. And so because we don't do a lot of advertising like you might see Rocket Mortgage or some of these other banks, so what they do is they pay me to build the relationships. And so I get part of what the loan production is, not a commission that somebody pays me individually as a consumer.
But your money, your revenue stream is dependent on how many deals you close.
Absolutely, yeah. It's you only eat what you kill.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, so
that's cool. I like that.
And I went from the banking world. So I worked for a bank here in town and had been in banking for quite a while and ready to take that next leap. And I didn't go to college. So, well, I lie. Every time I started going to college, I would have a kid. And so that would keep me from, and then I have 6 kids. So I didn't try that many times, but I went back a few times to try. Anyway, and so didn't get a degree working for a bank, going to a commercial banker status, like getting to be a loan officer for those banks. I kept hitting roadblocks. And the guy that I was working for was like, look, I'll put Matt up against any of these guys coming out of college. They're like, no, I know. We like Matt too. They put me all these programs. Like they got me to be very well known in the community I'm in.
Right.
But then if they make an exception for me, they've got to make an exception for everybody else, right? So I completely understood that. And I had a friend who was in the mortgage business. He's like, hey, I think you'd be good at this. And so again, 2008, jumping in. And so going from that W-2 secure hourly, but working a lot of hours as a manager, but not really getting paid for it.
Right.
And then the difference in income is just, it's ridiculous.
Who do you think is sort of like the best salesperson out there? And I thought about having like a reality show where it's like the best salesperson, where you'd have like a car salesman, a real estate agent, maybe a mortgage lender, who else sells? Maybe medical.
I think all the
pharmaceuticals.
I think all the MLM people.
The MLM people, right? And just put them in a. I guess it'd be like the Apprentice, but like, you would just find out who like the greatest salesperson is and how they can close deals.
I think the challenge would be, and this is something I see, is how much money do they make per sell? So if you're trying to get me to sell something that I make $299 on a deal or $8,000 a deal, I'm going to approach that very differently. So if you got 100 people in the room, what are you trying to sell them? Because I would imagine stacking me up against a car salesman would be difficult on a widget. But to get to know their family and really dive into who they are and all the experience over the years, like it's going to be hard.
I guess that would be the challenges, right? Like one challenge is like you got to sell a big high ticket product. Then another one is like sell this widget and then sell it. Right. And then that would be the competition, is like the different types of things that you could sell.
Hey, and from my perspective, so I actually worked for 6 years with a Ford dealership. One of the things I didn't like about that, and I've been in the world of commission sales myself or whatnot, and I was going to ask this question, how different it is for you guys and y'all's approach, Matt, with transactional sales versus relationship-based sales.
Yeah.
I think especially when it comes to mortgage, because that's not going to happen overnight, right? I mean, what does that look like in terms of building, establishing, or maintaining that relationship throughout the whole process with the client?
Yeah, so and that's a very good point. So what I do, or what I've done over the years, is I'm not a one-on-one salesperson at all, right? So what I do is I go out to individuals who it's their job to find a bunch of people, right? Real estate agents. So their shotgun approach. I'm more sniper, right? Like I'm going after the agent who's closing the most deals. And as I connect with those agents and build a relationship, they send me Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Jones, whatever, right? And then I have to take that relationship and I'm balancing this real estate agent's trust in me. And then I've got all that piled up at the same time. Like I've got their relationship, my relationship. And so as I go into these things, the relationship with the realtor is really what's on my shoulder the most, because they're my continued business source, not one person at a time. So what does that feel like? It feels like you got to get deep really quickly. And it's not just about do you know FHA, conventional, USDA, VA, do you know those loans? Of course, like you got to be able to know those things, but what can you do to support my business by having clients give us great reviews and repeat customers? And they had so much fun through the experience that now their Uncle Bob wants to come by too, so it's those kind of things. So it's selling on the level of, do you want the car? But then, no, do you want the dealership, right? Like I'm selling a whole package of relationship, not just one deal at a time.
How many mortgage lenders are there? It's like a lot. Is there a lot?
I don't even know. Like,
Is there a lot of competition?
Oh yeah. I mean, even within my company, I think, man, I would be lying. I don't have the number, but I would guess like 6,000 mortgage lenders in just Fairway. Yeah.
Damn.
It could be more than that. I don't want to lie. Yeah.
That's stiff competition. How do you separate yourself?
It is the knowledge that I've picked up over the years. Like if I was just me on year one, it's not the same thing. Like my wife talks about creating this thing that we're not going to create it. It would be terrible. But 1-800 is your lender lying, right? Because there's just so many things that happen. And I have a lot of agents that will call me and go, hey, Matt, somebody said this. Does that sound true? Not quite. Ask them this and this. And so what sets me apart is I've just been doing it for so long. In 2008, it doesn't seem like it, but then I've been around a lot of really, really big, really good lenders too. So there's a bunch of great lenders here in San Antonio. And I've had guidance from those guys and girls who are able to like teach me some ways and some things. And so that's what it really is that sets me apart, is the experience of not just me, but the mentors I have in my life to help me understand on a greater level than I would have had by myself. But what we do is it's honest. It's always, everything's on the table up front. The difficult things, we call it stick your finger in the pain, but some people do that on purpose. So it's like, I don't want to make something harder than it really is, but the process is not the easiest, right? But at the end of this 30-day process, that's going to maybe be painful, you're going to own a home. So I always say, when you wake up that first morning, you open your eyes and that's your ceiling you're looking at on your bed in your house, all this stuff will be worth it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the big thing, is we set ourselves apart with experience and honesty.
Yeah, buying that house was that process.
I want to say this, speaking from firsthand experience, I've known Matt for a while now, and I've been in my personal situations where I've come to him to say, hey, here's my goal, what I'm looking to do, my current position. And we've actually maybe said, hey, right now is not the right time, or this isn't the house, or situation like that. So I think coming from a perspective where I've got sales, marketing background and things like that, it would have been easy to finagle that conversation to say, hey, I've got this person's trust. Let me kind of just make it and figure out a way to get them to say yes. In that situation, he knew like, hey, this is going to be much more prudent towards this person, what I was looking to get done. And trust me, from there, like I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Maybe it didn't make a deal for me at that time, but I certainly said, hey, I'm going to refer people because I know is going to have that integrity.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a huge way to build relationships. So when I have people who will call me and go, hey, Matt, this deal isn't working. And I'll call their lender and say, hey, have you tried this or have you tried that? Oh, yeah. You know what? We did do. And then they close the loan. Like that realtor's like, wait, if I would have just used Matt from the beginning, but he was willing to not cause extra delays, and because it's ultimately not, if it's still about money after all this time, I'm doing it for the wrong reason. Like if it's only about making $1, like I could have picked something way different a long time ago. And Andrew and I, Andrew's a really good friend of mine, works with me. On our way over here, we were talking about the big Powerball thing that's coming, right? So I don't know about all that stuff, but we go through this.
Did you buy it?
No, I haven't. Not yet, but he's almost convinced me to do it. Anyway, so it's like we were getting these conversations of what you would do if you had the money. And I'm thinking all the people traveling down 35 and the conversations about this may be going on right now. So we talked about tithing to church, being able to keep doing mortgages, right? And then being able to give away at least 4 houses a year. And I'm like, how many conversations when you're like, what are you going to do with the money? Well, let's give away as much as possible and keep doing what we're doing now. Who would say that? But that's really like, we don't do this stuff just because it's fun or off air or whatever. We'd be going, no, really, if we can just stack up another $100,000, you know what I mean? Like, no, we actually love what we get to do because we're really helping. We're changing the trajectory. We've talked about this before, the trajectory of life. And in this area, so my wife is half white, half Hispanic, and her 2 kids, they're mine now. We adopted them anyway. So they are Hispanic. And I think about, and Jerry and I have talked about this, like my little girl Holly is going to grow up in a world where there's going to be some challenges, right? There's going to be some things. So I'm setting up this way of life and this give back and like how to help break generational curses of not having home ownership. And it's weird how that all is becoming a bigger part of my life. Like we are doing more than just making money or more than just letting people borrow money and pay it back and what are interest rates and all. Like how can I help your family change the way it thinks by something as simple as owning a home? Because I remember every couch I slept on, every house I lived in, like it's always super impactful. So even if it's that 1 year, 2 year plan, or you want to build a real estate portfolio, like all those things, like we are influencing the direction your family's going to be going in the future.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Let me, so I got a question about it, because you hear like the American dream, right? Is like buy a home, have that white picket fence. What are like the biggest misconceptions about being able to purchase a house? I feel like I've seen that within my own family or circle of friends. It's like, oh, like that is unattainable.
Yeah. So, I mean, the big thing is I mean, it doesn't, you say the American dream, and we'll talk about that in just a second, but the idea of it takes more than, like somebody's built up 20% down and your payment's going to be so much higher than this. And there's all these just people say random things and those stick in your head and you don't want to go forward, or I'm stuck in the house. I think that's one of the biggest things I hear, honestly, from places where are people who come in and they're afraid to buy. It's because they think they're going to be stuck in the house. And what I would say to that is the individuals, especially right now, who bought 5 years ago and they're sitting on $150,000 in equity in 5 years, like you're talking about resetting your whole life, like Dave Ramsey on crack, because you can pay off every car. You can pay off every credit card. You can pay off everything. And now all you have is a note. So if I would have bought instead of rented 5 years ago, you could just reset, move wherever you want, and you got cash left in your pocket at the end of it. And we're seeing that happen a lot because people are doing complete resets. And what's happening right now is I'm seeing higher and higher credit card debts. So people do applications and their credit cards are maxed out because it's harder to buy a tank of gas than it was a couple of years ago, right? It's harder to buy milk. Like inflation is happening, right? So I'm not making any extra cash necessarily. So what am I doing? I'm swiping those cards. And so right now, if you didn't buy 5 years ago and you're renting, there's almost no way to bridge that gap unless something seriously starts changing. But we're seeing families that did buy 5 years ago sell right now, reset, and they're in a much better position. So it's stories like that to help them get off the fence of, do I want to rent or buy? Well, do you want to build wealth, or do you want to stay exactly where you are 5 years from now? That's the big difference. Wealth is good.
Yeah, 100%. Talk to me about marketing in this whole game with mortgage lending. I don't really know this world in terms of marketing.
Yeah, so rewind 2 or 3 years ago, even 5 years ago, videos. Why would we do that? Because it was more like, we call it face-to-face, breaking bread, belly-to-belly, right? Where if you don't get in front of them, then you're not going to get their attention. Now it's completely flipped to where they don't really care about coffee. When I say they, I mean relationships we build, financial advisors, real estate agents, things like that. Like your branding goes before you do, right? So we brought in Andrew, and he was a pretty decent social media guy, right? Especially for our area, right? I would say him and Jerry have done a good job over the years of just getting out there. But when in building the brand, we're starting to see things differently. Like millennials are, everybody's been talking about it for a long time, but what we're seeing is the age group that they're going into as they start to hit 34, 35. Like that's the prime time to be buying a house. And I'm 44 and I find myself watching millennials. So I'm realizing that if I can market to millennials, and millennials are the ones kind of being exciting, and as a 44-year-old, I'm watching them doing what they're doing, I can just hit one segment of the population really with my marketing, and I'm really hitting all of them because the younger people are watching them, the older people are watching them, and so really as we go in and we're talking about what kind of information do we get to them, it's very strange what our social media stuff does. So we do straight up like education. Like we don't even say who we are. Bullet to the brain. Did you know you can buy a house? You don't need this much down. Call me today. Right? So 60 seconds or less stuff. And then I'm famous for like 8-minute videos. So I'll go on and be like, winning Wednesdays. This is why today is so amazing. And you know, you can be really impactful with blah, blah, blah. Right? And then we have videos where my 7-year-old son and my 10-year-old daughter are driving the G-Wagon down the road, you know, bouncing to music, right? So then we have the entertainment side, like we call it realty, or what is it called? I'm trying to remember now. It's just reality versus what you guys think is going on. And so really we're like doing pre-quals at 6 o'clock on a Friday, and you think we're, you know, at noon at the beach already, right? So it's like all about making sure people know how hard we work, what we do, what we are as a team. But that's what the marketing is like now. It's really a lot more social media marketing than it is face-to-face.
How has that impacted your business?
It's huge. It's huge. So we're walking through our community. We live in New Braunfels, and as we're walking down from one place to the next, somebody reaches out the window and they yell, "Cav Crew." So that's what we call ourselves, is the Cav Crew. But it's just fun. It's exciting for people to see and be a part of. And I had somebody the other day walk up to me, "I want to come work for you." It's like, "What do you do?" Like I knew the guy already. Like, "Why do you want to work?" It just sounds like so much fun. It's like, oh, it's real easy. You just 1-800 mortgage lender license, right? And then come on, it's super easy. Like, no, I don't know anything about mortgages, but so it's about creating that fun family atmosphere that people pay attention to. I've had a bunch of people say, "What do y'all do?" Which seems to be the hardest thing to get across. Like we're telling them mortgage payment. Here's what rent versus buying. Here, so we're talking about mortgages all the time, but the way we do it, I guess, is fun enough that they're just paying attention to the content and then have impactful conversations. What is it that you do?
Right.
No, you're a client. You bought a house through me. You know what I do. Like literally one of our clients asked us what we do. Like, this is strange. But so it's making an impact because just people are paying attention.
Right.
Yeah. So
that makes sense. I like that. If you weren't doing mortgage lending, what do you think you'd be doing?
Man, I'm really strange. I am pretty decent at everything. Like I weld, I paint. And when I say paint, like I've been in galleries before. I've been in restaurants. Like I do
really
abstract art.
Like artist.
Yeah, like an artist.
Paint.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, and then I do carpentry. I do like pretty much anything you say, "Hey, Matt, can you do this?" I'm just a problem solver, but I'm not like fantastic at anything other than mortgages. So I don't know exactly what I would do. It would probably be something like coaching, because I really like taking people from where they are, giving them examples of how to grow, and then watching that just blossom. And I've done that over the years unofficially, like coach people. And it's just, that's super impactful. I wouldn't say as impactful as watching them buy houses, but just seeing people decide not to turn one way and instead keep north, right? That's what I always call it. Like, is this true north for you, or are you varying off a little bit? So I would probably coach.
That's cool.
Hey, real quick, I was just gonna say, it's interesting you say that. So I'm like big on like etymology of words. And so actually coaching, what coach was a word that I looked up like a few weeks ago. Pretty simply, it just said that take a person. It came from tutoring, actually. Take a person from one place to another. That was it. That's what coach came from.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know
when
that.
you say
Cool.
that, yeah.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, but I didn't know that that's how they, was it Webster Dictionary?
Yeah. So it was like, right. So it was like this slang term for tutor.
How do we know what's real and what's not? What's legit, what's not? Who's the authority?
Well, let's take time just changed, right?
Right.
So we got to church on Sunday morning. Everybody showed up on time.
Right.
Right. And why did everybody show up on time? It changed last night, right? It used to be harder. Remember the days when you had to go and physically set your clock back?
Yeah.
But now my phone just tells me what time it is. The alarm automatically changes over. But nobody was there an hour later or earlier, whatever it was this time, because we all believed the time changed. In Hawaii, it didn't change. It's still part of the United States, like, right? So it's like, so when you ask that question, I automatically go to, well, depends how many people are believing what you're trying to say.
Yeah. So, I mean, so Webster, right? Has Webster Dictionary, I think we can all agree, is legit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's for real?
I would
Yes?
think so, yeah.
Why?
Because we all believe it.
We all believe it, right? And it's been around the longest, I guess. So is that what you're saying? Adoption is what creates credibility?
I'll tell you, so my shoes, right? So I got these, so we went to a place to buy my son some different shoes this weekend. And while we're there, the guy says that, oh, you guys just picked up some new heat. Who decided the new word for shoes is heat? But now my son won't call shoes anything other than heat. So
Really?
it's like I mean, cool, right? Like, why do we say, all those things? So Webster's or whatever it is, it goes to the same thing, adoption.
Adoption creates credibility.
I mean,
That's it.
Unfortunately.
Because at that point, like what? So what's true yesterday is not true today,
Potentially.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we wanted to get to the nuts and bolts and philosophically talk about it, it really isn't, right? Because at that yesterday, it was true yesterday because we were all there at that time.
And that
In that space, in that present moment, at that age, right? At that temperature of, and the daytime. Like, so all of that stuff was true at that time, but we can be in the same spot and it's no longer the truth.
Hey, 9/11 fundamentally changed everything one day to the next. Can you walk into an airport and say goodbye at the door anymore as your family member flies away? No, you cannot.
Not at all.
It is fundamentally changed because of a moment in time. Absolutely.
And now it's adoption. It's it really is sometimes when I'm like, starting to think all deep and philosophical. I'm like,
I hear you on
what
that.
is truth?
Hey, and like to your
What is
son's
true?
point, before you know it, next week, shoes are going to be called something different.
I'm
right?
gonna call it heat. I like that though. Hey, you
it's new
gonna
heat.
so no kicks,
No kick.
no sneakers, no no shoes, no Yeezys.
Yeah. But the question is, and then bringing stuff back, right? Like I'm starting to see the kids wearing 70s stuff again.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
so then not only is it become not true, but they can just bring it back and suddenly it's true again. Like, how is that cool when I couldn't have paid you $900 to wear, and this isn't 70s, but I'm thinking about Crocs, right? Crocs were here and then they were gone. And in a short amount of time, now they're back again. Like, I literally couldn't have paid my children to put those on their feet. And now it's like, Dad, I gotta have Crocs. Like, it changes so quickly just based off of adoption.
Well, there you go. Hey, tell everybody where they can find you in that camera right there.
All right. Hey, guys. Yeah. So Matt Cavanaugh Crew, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. So we are in New Braunfels, Texas, San Antonio area, Garden Ridge. So basically we just call it the Hill Country. And I guess the best way to get a hold of us is just look us up on social media as Cav Crew.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely, man.
We
It was a
really
blast.
appreciate it. It was a good conversation. I can't say that every time we have a show, it's amazing. No, I'm not trying to throw shade at any of my other guests. It's just sometimes
You always
it's
get
just really
amazing
not
with
there.
Matt, man.
Yeah,
So.
but hey, very cool stuff. I really enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, Spaghetti on the Wall brought to you by LeDuc Entertainment for all of your social media needs, digital marketing, make a video, which is dropping here in the next week. So check out that video. And we'll see y'all everywhere where you can find us podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever. See y'all next time. Thanks, Matt.
All right, guys.